welcome to Creative Block, where you host V. It's just me today. Gene is out and about doing more Q-Bomb stuff. In case you guys have followed his news a little bit, he's been recording with Q-Bomb. He just got his singles out, so he's just in the deep with that with the band. But I'm here. I'm still around, and I interview people in creative industries about their life, work, and hobbies while we doodle jam. We asked people on Twitter if they had specific topics they wanted us to discuss, as well as some drawing prompts. And today with us we have Guillaume Fesquet. Hi.
Hi.
Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you for having me.
Um, Guillaume, we actually met in school.
Yeah.
We both went to Gobelin, and then you left for the US a little earlier than I did.
Mhm.
Worked at did an internship at Disney, worked for Illumination MacGuff, and then Illumination here.
Mhm.
You have like a 10 plus year career in animation, and so let's hear a little bit about your journey and how you got your start.
Sure. You mean how I got my first job and how
I
uh,
think, let's just kind of take it back to
school.
schools and kind of how you decided on a school. Like,
Yeah.
how how did you pick your first school? And, like, did you always know that you wanted to go into animation?
So I knew pretty quickly I wanted to try animation, even though I thought it was gonna be something. It was very foreign to me, like it was more of a fantasy, as
Mm-hmm.
if I don't know, if I could do it really, because the high school, primary school, middle school, high school, I did something very much more nice. I'll do my version of it. But I yeah, I came from a very traditional I guess school process. And so just doing art school for me was a little bit foreign.
Mm-hmm.
Um and then when I was about to finish high school, I heard that one of my cousins did this um, CG school. Can I say it like this?
Yeah,
Something
yeah,
like
yeah.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Called Super Focom.
Yeah.
And I got in touch with him and he told me a bit about it. And so I tried the exam and I got it. But
Wow.
so that's how I got to do my first school. But to go back to that, sorry, the question about if I knew I wanted to do animation. Yeah, I mean, really quickly, I wanted to do that. Really quickly, I wanted to be a
Mm-hmm.
comic book artist. As as
Haha, isn't that what we all
yeah,
wanted to
yeah.
do?
I still kind of want to do it. It's hard for me to. Man, this looks good. It's hard for me to. It seems so hard to do comic book for me. So I don't know how. Like I've had this idea for a while and I've never find the courage to really start officially. But anyway, so I wanted to be a comic book artist, and then I knew also quickly that it was going to be hard to make a living out of it, anyways. And so it felt
Yeah.
like animation was just, best of both worlds. It's just
Yeah.
comic books moving. Uh, and I saw this when I was 11, I think. I saw this documentary about people that, French people that used to do Gobelin that ended up at DreamWorks, and you see them. I think it was during Prince of Egypt production.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
remember that? Did you see it too?
I didn't see it, but I remember that like there was a big basically with Gobelin, so Goblin, I guess,
Yeah,
or I don't know how American people pronounce it. But
yeah,
it's there was like a big wave of
yeah.
DreamWorks coming and like hiring
Hmm.
people from Gobelin, but for animation.
Hmm.
I think was it 2D or 3D? Because I remember there was like a big wave also hiring for 3D animation.
Yeah, that was a
Um,
bit later, the 3D part. That documentary I'm
hmm
talking about, it was really still when 2D was
Was
a
big.
big thing, and DreamWorks was not even at the campus they're at now. They were, I don't know where they were, but it was a bit different. Um,
Mm.
and yeah, and so I saw this, and in my mind I was like, I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna. I remember a conversation with my older brother, and I was like, I'm just gonna go at Gobelin eventually, and I'm gonna go at DreamWorks. And I was 11,
Nice.
so since then, like my heart was like balancing between comic book and animation, and uh, and yeah, and so going back to what I was saying, I eventually entered that school. Used to be called Superinfocom.
Yeah. Is it called Rubica
I
now? I think
think it's
it's.
split it in two because there's a part in the north of France and one in the south of France, and I did the south of France
Mm-hmm.
one. And this one I think is called, it's another name. But yeah, Rubica is one of the name. Maybe for
Mm-hmm.
the north one. I mean, I might, I don't know if I'm right in this, but yeah, it's not for sure called Superinfocom now. And then and then I discovered animation there. Really, I really fell in love with animation, and even,
When you say animation, you mean the actual animating part of animation, right?
yeah, just like the whole thing, like how to do a movie,
Oh, okay.
do a
Yeah.
movie.
Filmmaking, like the.
Yeah, the process of
Mhm.
filmmaking, but also being surrounded by artists like you that are driven by, inspired by the same thing you are, and wants to achieve the
Mm.
same thing you want to achieve, and which is the kind of conversation I never really had with anybody yet because it was just me drawing, on my own.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
so that was super liberating, and I did a couple of short films there. But in my heart, I knew I still wanted to try Gobelin. And so even before trying getting into Supernfocom, I tried Gobelin when I was still in high school. The exam,
Hmm.
I didn't get it. Then while I was at Supernfocom, it was like a four year curses. Curses? Is
Hmm.
that an English word? Curses?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like yeah, curses.
hmm
Yeah.
Uh, and then yeah, so yeah, I tried again when I was still at Supernfocom, and I failed again. And finally, I tried the last attempt because I just got graduated from Supernfocom, so I could work already.
Hmm.
We did a short film with two other friends, and we had, good feedbacks, and I had opportunities to work already. And but I really wanted to try Gobelin, and I got it this time. And I
Yeah.
got it this time. That's where.
How old were you? Because I remember at the time,
hmm
I think there still is an age limit. Like wasn't the age limit like 25?
I think I don't know if there's still an age limit, but I know it changed for sure. It's not 25 anymore. I
Hmm.
think I had the conversation about that not too long ago, actually.
Oh yeah.
But they changed that, and I think I was when I graduated from both school, I was 25. So I was 22. I was 22, I think, when I arrived at Godin.
Wow. That was yeah, it's still pretty young.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
realized like
Because I
yeah,
did
yeah,
4 years
yeah.
at Chupafucam, and I got there at 18. So yeah, I was 22.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
Uh,
Checks out.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And so yeah. So I met you there, and then what was the
Yeah, I
original?
remember
Yeah.
in school your animations were like really, really great. Like
hmm
I thought it's really funny because I thought you were going to be an animator.
hmm
Um, and I remember you already had like this like basketball short that
Yeah,
you
yeah,
made that
yeah.
was really cool. Yeah,
No, thank.
you had like a really good eye for movement and animation.
Yeah, I mean, I was really drawn by always by drawing, but
Mm-hmm.
my primary focus was animation, and I wanted to be an animator. But I realized that what I was really excited about when I think about animation is the acting part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Like so I
Yeah.
could spend so much time on one stupid acting, like just a few seconds, and I would love that. I
Mm-hmm.
would love that. I would just get lost and rewatch the process again. And when I had this just four frames that were working, I was just like watching it again and again. And uh, yeah, it's so that, so, I mean, I'll talk later about my experience as an animator, when I started being a professional. But,
Hmm.
the Gobelin was a bit different from Super Faucon because it was more driven. Like, I was getting back to the drawing, really, surrounded by
Hmm.
people that are just fucking good.
That
And
was like our class was just like so crazy when you think about because it was like
yeah, yeah,
everyone was like really really talented and
yeah.
yeah it was just like it was really
And,
crazy.
and passionate too, like that, I guess that's a little bit of a
Yeah.
difference with the previous school I did because most of us entered right after high school. And so there's a lot of immaturity, you know? People are just excited
Mhm.
to be in art
Mhm.
school. And, um, luckily, a few of, in my class, a few of us were a little bit more mature and knew exactly what they wanted. And so, I think that brought everybody towards the top in a way.
Mhm.
Because yeah, like people were serious about that. It was not just people being in school and fucking around and everybody was super
Yeah.
motivated. But at Super it was, I don't know, it felt a little bit more mature. I felt like people knew exactly what they wanted. Everybody was super talented
Mm.
and yeah,
I think our class was also like a little bit on the older side. I feel like
yeah,
we had a lot of people that were
hmm
kind of like yeah, like 22 or 3.
hmm
I think it was only Marion and I who were like 19, 18.
hmm hmm
Yeah.
True.
So
Yeah,
it was like mostly people that were like closer to
that's
25.
true. Yeah.
And yeah.
Yeah, we had a really good, I mean, for both schools, I was lucky because everybody was getting along really well, you know. Like
Hmm.
those classes are small, so we spend like 3, 4 years together. So if there's any kind of drama, it's kind of sucks. Um, so I feel like overall, there's always little things here and there, but overall, I feel like there's a really good atmosphere, very, creative. And I don't know, like to me, even to this day, it's the best years of my life, creatively speaking. And in a way, that's also what I'm kind of looking for, like trying to find that same energy, creative energy, that
Mm.
little craziness that we had. So everybody is super dedicated to what they wanted to achieve, but there's still a little bit of craziness, and
Hmm.
people like
Yeah.
fooling around, and it felt like so, sorry, very like so liberating. Um,
Yeah.
and after
Yeah.
school, in my experience, and that's what I've struggled the most with, is you get into this little box and you're just part of. I mean, of course everybody has a different experience, but I've been part of big studios uh,
Hmm.
throughout those 10 years, and so there's a little, yeah, it feels a little bit more. I don't know. Everybody does their own thing on the little
I think
corner.
it's interesting that you've been in bigger studios because I feel we've interviewed a lot of guests that
Hmm
worked in TV. So we're definitely gonna like talk about that a little bit more
Yeah.
later in the episode because I think that's a really interesting point of view.
Mm-hmm.
Um, how like I remember. Do you feel like the short that you made in school, Who's Afraid of Mr. Greedy? Like,
hmm
do you feel like that helped you in any way land a job? Do you feel like it impacted your career in any way, or do you feel like if you had made it or not, it wouldn't have really made a big difference? I asked that because
hmm
I remember being in school and everyone thinking like our short is our calling card,
Sure. Yeah.
and if it's not good, our life is over.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a very good point. I mean,
Looking back, what do you think?
yeah, yeah, and the very important point, sorry, about this, the studies we made, and let's say CalArts, for instance, is that we do a team project.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
your work is like merged into a bunch of people's work. It's to me the best experience because you learn to work with people, which is what's going to happen most of the time when you're going to end
Hmm.
up working professionally. And I think it brings you're able to achieve something to another level. I think that unless, I mean, some people are crazy by themselves and they can achieve crazy things. It's not my case personally, so I'm lucky that I was part of a team that pushed me. But
Mm.
but I don't know if you do your own short. I think maybe the impact is a little bit different, and people are more like really, I don't know, paying more attention to that short. I feel like for us, it's more like that's how I experienced it because I already came from that school and I already did short film, and actually that short film that I did um, brought me,
The basketball one
yeah,
that you did in
yeah,
Utica?
from
Yeah.
the hoop, it's called. Um, that one brought me some job opportunities, but really it was like,
Oh, very cool.
yeah, but it was. I don't know if it's the short. The short itself brought me attention when we had the jury and a bunch of professional came and we had this meet and greet with them, and so they were gonna talk to people, if they like their short or not. And that's I think the big point about those two schools that I did, like Gobelin and Schmafocum, is that we have access to this big network of professionals and recruiters, and that's how I started my career is through them.
Oh, interesting. Very cool. Yeah, that's really interesting to hear because
Hmm.
I feel like same kind of goes with Cal Arts from what I kind of heard about the school is like
Hmm.
these kind of schools have this kind of aura mostly because you are in touch with these professionals, so they kind of help
Hmm.
bridge the gap between
Hmm.
being in school and finding your first gig.
Hmm.
So that's really interesting. Were you doing freelance at all while you were attending Gobelin?
While I was there, no, because I really, you mean while I was at Gobelin during the,
Yeah, while you
N-
were a student, were
n-
you doing freelance or?
not at all. I mean, before going to Gobelin, I did this internship with this studio, small studio in Paris called Digital Banana, so Digital Banana, and
Mm-hmm.
I would work for him here and there, but it was more like helps. It was not officially freelance. But
Oh, I see. Yeah, you're just like giving him a hand.
yeah, here and there, and yeah, and that was my only real experience as a professional,
Mm.
and but yeah, no, not no like no real freelance.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, so uh,
And when did you, so you got the internship with Disney feature.
mhm.
Uh, was that in the second year of school? Uh,
it
when did that
yeah, it
happen?
was in so yeah, back then it was 3 years, and it was
Mm-hmm.
in the second years of school. Yeah, they came to our school, they looked at 3 portfolios, and then they picked 3 people, or Disney picked two, and
Mm-hmm.
Sony Pictures picked one, and we were super lucky because it was a time where there's this whole thing with the U.S. Embassy. They wanted to create uh, this bridge, this artistic bridge between France and the U.S., and so they gave us like a grant.
Mm.
If the idea was like if an American studio is interested in getting French students, then they would help us financially getting into the U.S. and yeah, they would help us trying to find a place to stay and all those things. So we were the first to be part of this, uh, and I think they tried that for a few years after, and then it kind of died. But yeah,
Oh, they're not doing it anymore now?
I mean
Oh,
I
wow.
don't they might I don't know, they might, but yeah, but what I know for sure is that we were the first ones. So yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
got picked by Disney along with Maxime Marie and Julien Rossier was picked at Sony. And so
Mm-hmm.
two great friends, so it was even better. And so we ended up going at LA together. And actually after, that was like a 2 months internship, and the internship itself was great. We loved it. We loved the experience we just loved our experience overall, but I remember when we came back to Paris, we're like, yeah, I don't think we're gonna come back to LA. Like LA,
Oh,
not so
yeah?
much. Yeah, the experience of working, awesome. LA, not so much. Yeah, and
You mean that because of the city? You were just like not really in love with the city?
yeah, it was just so different from Paris, from everything I've
Yeah.
known, and driving everywhere, and at the time, what I love to do and what we love to do is just like getting into coffee places and draw people, and it's much harder to do that in LA because
Yeah. Yeah.
it's mostly cars that
Yeah.
passes, not people. And so I mean, of course, unless you know the good spots, but
Yeah.
it's just a whole different vibe. Now, that being said, I'm here and I love LA and I don't want to leave LA now.
Yeah.
So anything's possible. But back then I was like, I'm good. Um, but to go back to your previous question about if the short film got me a job or not, uh, I personally don't think so. I think it's all the showreel that I put in place, the combination of all the work I did at Superfocom and Gobelin and put that together. The portfolio is, I think it's everything. And,
Mm.
and so that's how I got my first job. I think they saw my showreel and they knew I was from Gobelin, which is always a good, thing. It's
Yeah.
usually a safe bet when you're from Gobelin
Yeah.
and I'm not saying this to brag or anything, but the school has a good reputation. So they know it's like the students are serious and are really dedicated. And so they looked at my showreel and they really liked the acting part and stuff. And so they hired me, on the Lorax. So this is the illumination, I guess I'm talking about.
Oh my gosh, I have a question to ask you that is completely
Yeah,
unrelated to
yeah.
the that is slightly related, but did you know that did you know that the Onceler got a huge fandom on Tumblr?
He has a huge whip. Fandaf?
Did you
Fanbase?
like a huge fandom like on Tumblr?
Really?
People yeah, yeah, you did it. Did you animate on the character of the Onceler?
No, I did not know.
No.
Yeah.
No? Okay, that's so funny because I only found out like a couple of years ago.
Huh.
Actually, for people who have listened to Creative Block for a while, if you're uh curious at all, the reason why I became aware of the Wenceler was because our guest, Nicole Rodriguez,
Mm.
who's an amazing artist, for her episode, we got the prompt of drawing the Wenceler, and everyone was just like
Yeah.
losing their minds, like, no, don't do this, it's so cringe. And I was like, how are so many people aware of this?
Yeah.
And then I asked around, and he was like extremely popular
Hmm.
with teen girls in America.
Wow, this is so weird. But the Onceler, yeah, okay, he's the main character. It's not.
From the
Yeah,
Lorax,
yeah,
from the Illumination
yeah,
movie.
yeah, yeah. No, I did. Oh,
That's
no,
so
actually,
funny.
I did animate him a little bit. Uh,
You did animate
yeah,
him a little bit. That's so funny.
yeah,
Wow, that's your claim to fame. No, I'm joking. I'm
yeah.
joking.
I did.
That's so funny.
Yeah, I did do that, but yeah, I had like a couple of shots with him. But I was doing mostly background characters. But that's so random what you're saying.
I know,
It's
it's so
so random.
crazy. I had no idea. It was huge on DeviantArt and Tumblr.
Yeah.
Um
Oh, wow.
Wow, I need to draw him. Okay, I'm gonna draw him next on the
Wow. I mean, yeah. This is
that's that's
what I'm drawing right now is just the version of Eric Guillaume, like the way he would draw the minions, and that's how I learned how to draw the minions because
is he
he's the creator of the minions. I mean, he's
yeah, he's the
the
creator of the minions, but would you say
designer, sorry. Yeah.
yeah, he created the concept art for them for the very first time. Would you say he's like the production designer? How would you describe his
I mean,
role
right now
on the
he's everything. He was just a concept artist. Then he
when
became
he started?
when he started.
Yeah.
Then he became like the main one, the main concept artist.
Mm.
Then eventually he became. I'm sure he became some like production designer at some point. Then co-director. So he's
Okay.
just
Okay. Mm-hmm.
yeah. He became. I mean, I don't know how to sum it up, but he's behind all the designs of the franchise.
Mm.
Even the Rex.
Mm-hmm.
He designed the Wensler. He designed.
He designed the
Yeah,
Wenceler, his claim to
yeah, yeah.
fame.
Well, he designed the minions too. I think it's yeah. but he's
I
it's
know the
it's
minions are way more popular.
yeah. Um, but it's always yeah, it's a complicated subject to when you talk about who created the minions, and that's why I
Yeah.
emphasize he's the designer of the minions because it was a team of people. You know, there's the guy who came up with the idea of having minions in
Yeah.
the first place, and there's like few concepts.
How messy is that? Okay, you don't have to answer this if you don't feel comfortable, but was there any drama around the minions because they're so big now?
I don't honestly, I don't know. I was
Okay.
not part of the early conversation of this. I was not really part of any conversation. I joined Illumination on Sing originally,
Okay.
and to work with Eric. Eric was a production designer on Sing,
Hmm.
and then so Eric, the designer on the Minions, and
Hmm.
then I followed him on Despicable Me 3, and then on Minions. But it was already so established, you know, that
Yeah.
I sorry, I yeah, I don't know. We talked a little bit about it, but he was pretty discreet, so I can't really say. I don't have any juicy
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah. That was
Um,
my TMZ moment.
yeah.
I was like, tell me the drama.
No drama there.
Um,
You drew everything. You drew all the. I can't do it anymore. You did it. Do you have any reference when you do this, or you just like, you know what?
I No, I do. Like, okay, for anyone who's been like listening to Creative Block for a while, like in the original episodes, my computer was so shit that I couldn't have anything else open but the Google Jamboard. But now I have a brand new computer. It's amazing, and I pulled up a reference for the Eiffel Tower and for
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Groomy
yeah.
Mug Man because I was like, I don't know the proportions.
Yeah,
But for the Finn and Minion, that one I was like, I know Finn. Like I've seen him a million
yeah,
times.
yeah. Okay, now that makes me feel a tiny bit better because I was like, wow, how did she?
Yeah. If anyone's listening to the episode on iTunes or Spotify or any of the audio only, you can check out the episode on YouTube. That's where you can see all the drawings, and then all the reactions of Guillaume to my drawings will make more sense.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry, sorry.
But yeah, no, that's really funny. So you were animating on the Lorax,
Hmm.
and uh how long were you animating at MacGuff? So anyone who's listening, French people call Illumination MacGuff because MacGuff is the studio in France. So if you're working on an Illumination property in Paris, you're going to be working at Illumination MacGuff. But if you're working for Illumination in LA, it's just going to be Illumination. Because Illumination's the parent company.
Hmm.
That's right? Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And I worked for both. So
And
I started at Illumination McGuff, and then after a journey, I ended up coming back there, but as a designer. And so I did this a little bit from Paris and mostly from LA to work
mm,
with Eric.
How long how long were you working at Illumination MacGuff before you made the move to LA to
Yeah.
Illumination?
So, and it's interesting because I think I'm also gonna come back to that idea of, you know, I wanted to be an animator, and you said, yeah, I always saw you as an animator. And
Yeah.
me too. And I started working at Illumination McGuff after 7 years of studying all parts of, you know, the filmmaking process, at least in animation. And I knew I wanted to be an animator. And I had this, I think, great showreel. I'm not, if you look at it now, it's not impressive, but I think you know, it does the job, and it convinces people to hire me. And
Yeah,
so,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, and I still, when I look at it, they still like, because I don't animate anymore, and so when I look at it, I'm like, wow, I did this. I mean, it was fun. Um, anyway, and so I ended up going there to be an animator on the rocks, a background character, and I was not good at it. I was just not good at it at all because,
Really?
yeah, because I was,
Is it
hmm?
I was gonna ask, is it because of the schedules, because of how fast you needed to be?
Because,
Or
yeah, because I really, studied acting almost more than animation. It's like in my, at least what, like I said, what I was really drawn to, but it was really how to push the acting a little bit. And my actings are not like super impressive, especially if you look at
Mm.
students' work now, but still, I was like really meticulous about every little frame that I was doing. And I was just, and you can't do that when you start working, especially as a background actor. It's all, especially in CG, it's all about playing with curves and at least that was my experience of
Yeah.
it. And so, uh, some people are very comfortable with it and they already know. The fact that at Gobelin, we studied mostly 2D animation, I think put
Yes.
me also not in a great spot to be, suddenly performing CG animator at that level.
Mm.
Not to find excuses at all, but I was miserable. I was miserable. I was not good. And the idea of like studying for 7 years and being not good at it was very hard to swallow. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I spent 3 months there and I knew they were not going to keep me. I remember having a meeting with, each animator, each new animators mostly had like meetings with producers and they're talking about us and, they were not telling how we were doing, but at least like what we were we looking for. And I knew I was not going to, they were not going to keep me. And I think I had this
Mm.
like survival instinct to reach out to Disney again.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, during my time at McGuff, I was just like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm just gonna. I know LA is not my thing, but I liked I like being at Disney, and there's something crazy and adventurous about that, and that's what I need right now. I feel stuck in this office, and I'm not happy, and I'm not good at it, and they're gonna fire me, and that's a horrible way to start my career. And
Hmm.
so anyway, so I applied there, and and very fast I got an answer from Matt Roberts, who's one of the recruiter there, and I
Hmm.
really got along when I did my internship. I I think honestly, I might be wrong, and if he listens to this, he might be like, "What?"
Ah,
But I think
he's gonna be this Guillaume. He's so full of himself. Ugh.
exactly. No, but I think part of it is like they were happy with my work, but I think we got along too. It was fun to be there. I
Hmm.
think that helped. But I don't know what was the recruiting process. I like to think that they liked me as a person. But yeah, anyway, so I got an answer from them and from that, and it was like, yeah, actually, we want to get you back for the training this time. So not an internship, but a training. So 6 months training. I know that changed as well, so I don't know how it looks like now, but back then it was you do 3 months, and if they're happy with you, you do 3 more months, and if they're happy with you, they hire you. And so I
Interesting.
just went
Yeah.
there as a vis dev artist, totally shifting gears. Uh, I really didn't care. I just wanted to get out of my miserable place. Uh,
Hmm.
and I'm like, they like me for sure. I'm just gonna go with that. But I really did that as like, I just needed to dream a little bit. I was like, I was really, really unhappy. I felt stuck, and I really need that moment of like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm just gonna try that. What if that happens? That would be amazing. And when it happened, I freaked out. Oh, you did Wolf. You did Wolf now.
Ah,
I'm gonna do
yeah, yeah, yeah.
after you do it. I'm gonna do my version of Wolf if I remember it correctly. Way less hot, but
Yeah, but I love the way you draw I mean, I love the way you draw, period.
oh,
But also I love the way you drew these characters. Like your style is so fun. It's really
thank
cartoony.
you. I mean,
It's
how are
true.
you doing right now? I always love your style at Gobelin, by the way. I told you that. You remember that?
Oh, this is the episode where we're
Yeah,
like,
no,
ooh,
but
I love what you're
I
doing.
told you,
No, I
yeah,
don't.
I told you that back at Gobelin. I remember like your style was very, it standed out for me because it was very illustrative, you know, and very
Yeah, I
naive
think
and
that was a little, yeah, that's a little tricky because at the time, I don't know. I feel like my style was just like too out there.
yeah.
I don't know. Sometimes I'll look back at my old drawings and I'm like, oh, those were like a lot more fun than the way I draw now, I guess. Or I don't
Oh,
know.
really? It
Hmm.
was, I mean, there's something,
Yeah.
especially me at the time, much more than now, but at the time I was really driven by, Pixar and Disney and, very more traditional. American cartoons,
Yeah.
like a mainstream, big features. Because that was my dream. I wanted to get there eventually. I thought I was gonna get there when I was gonna be 45, 50. Anyway, and so like your style was very fresh I don't know. I just remember being inspired by what you were doing. Anyway, so yeah, so I applied there and they said, yeah, I mean, it was like September and like, can you make it for November? I was like, what? And my first reaction was, actually, can we do the next session? I'm not ready. Like I was,
Ah,
yeah,
that's so you.
yeah, yeah,
You're like, no, I can't. Like,
exactly.
it's funny too because you're like, because Disney is kind of notorious for being very slow in their hiring process.
Mm,
Like, usually it's not uncommon for Disney to get back to artists like a month later
yeah,
or
yeah,
like even a couple months later. So it's kind of interesting for you.
yeah,
You just got a
yeah.
reply so fast. It must have meant that
I
they
mean,
really liked
in
you.
my mind it was fast, but maybe I did apply way before and they took forever. I can't remember exactly. But
Yeah.
but anyway, but when they did answer, at least they were like, yeah, it's for the next 2 months. I'm like, and I was actually kind of sad when I say back to her because I knew it was going to be for a few months. I was I was living with my sister back then, and it was so
Oh
hard.
yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
was heartbreaking to let her by herself, and it was sad. I was sad to leave, and but then I was so excited to get out of this life that I was at the time I was lost, and it was so. I'm often lost, by the way. That's I don't know how much we're going to talk about my career, but it's I realized after I'm like I guess I'm like that. but but
Yes.
uh yeah. But anyways, I moved there quickly, and it was so liberating to I have my own car. I was at Disney, everything was taken care of. And I did the 6 months, and for 6 months it was just like a dream, with a bunch of people like me just finishing school and being extremely talented and we're about the same age and we want to go out together and there's like something it was an extension of school,
Yeah.
and it was super fun and this city like I kind of knew and I rediscovered and in a different angle and anyway and I ended up staying like a full year and I worked on crazy projects. So as a vis dev artist this time, they took me as a vis dev artist. I had a great mentor, Scott Watanabe. They put me on.
How did they
Mhm.
make the decision to have you as a Viz Dev artist? When you went there for the internship, were you there as a Viz Dev artist as well?
Yeah, 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 yeah. They hired me as a vis dev artist.
Interesting. So you
Hmm
kind of like had planted that seed. Like even though you were animating all this
hmm
time in between,
Yeah, yeah,
for them you were a Viz Dev
yeah, yeah. I
artist.
mean, for me, that's funny because vis dev artist was actually in my mind. I think when I think about it, it was gonna be the even better job than being an animator. I think deep down that's what I wanted, but it felt too like not possible, basically. Just not
Hmm.
possible. Like I was being inspired by artists that are just way too good. Too good at what they do. Like their
Yeah.
paintings are amazing, their sense of design is amazing, the way they draw is, the way the character turns is perfect. And I was like, you need like 20 years of drawing skills before being able to do that. So I was like, I'm just gonna put everything on animation itself, like being an animator, be great at that, and that's gonna be awesome. Even though I was still like the acting thing was still, and still today actually, I miss that part. And I want to try theater now because I just just as a little outlet just to that because I miss that studying acting and
Yeah, yeah.
reading like
Have you ever considered going into storyboards? I feel like you would be good at
nah,
storyboards because
nah, nah, nah.
too much
I
work.
well, yeah, first of all, and it's a different part of your brain. Like you're much more. I like spending time on my drawings. I'm 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 a
Yeah, yeah, that's
slow
yeah.
artist. I mean, I like details. I like and story artists are like so good at what they do. They draw really well, but also they're just so fast. And
Yeah.
I can't let go like that. I have to redraw and redraw and redraw, and yeah, I wouldn't be able to do that.
Yeah, your process is a lot more, what's the word? Like laborious in a sense for a single drawing. Like for storyboard artists, it's not so much about the
Yeah.
final
Yeah,
drawing.
look at
It's
that.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
if we look at the board, you did 5 drawings already, and I did one that is not even my drawing. And like, before diving into a drawing, I need this, like, this doubts I have to chase. I need to be in a good spot, in a good place. I mean, it's, I'm caricaturing a little bit, but there's like, this train I'm catching, and then I'm on the row, and then I get there, and then. But it's like, there's
Yeah,
something,
you're like
yeah, yeah, I have to.
you're waiting for inspiration.
Hmm.
You need yeah,
Yeah.
you need the conditions to be
Hmm.
just right.
But anyway, so yeah, I was a dev artist as an intern, and I realized, I had stuff to say about, when I was drawing, I had something um, I could push a little bit. And looking back at it now after 10 years, to me, it's important that you find your voice. It's not just about trying to mimic what the best are doing or trying to, survive at that job, and you have to
Mm,
draw like this because that's the studio looking for. I found that, and it's personal thought, but I'm better on my job when I really find a sense of identity in it. Like when I feel like, I don't know, there's not that it's
yeah.
personal or anything, but what I'm really thinking about is like, how do I really see this character? Like really, when I let go and I'm just trying to draw something that
Mm,
is fun for me first. So I started to, and like when I did short films at school, it felt like that, but it's much more liberating. You don't feel that much pressure at school. It's just a different kind of pressure. When you're at work, you're like, okay, this is what I have to do now. This is how things are done. This is,
yeah.
and
Do you
so,
feel like
mhm.
you mentioned something interesting. You mentioned about like, oh, you don't have to draw exactly like the studio style or like people that are famous. Do you feel like you spent a lot of time copying or like learning from other artists as a student or like early in your career? And
Hmm.
how do you feel like this has changed now for you?
Mm, I had different phases, I think. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to see how to answer this because, like, when I was at school, I definitely had artists that I was inspired by, and not that I was copying exactly, but I was, I had references that were,
Yeah.
I could watch for hours, and then I would just draw my thing, and I was definitely influenced by that. But I think there's always a little bit of me in it,
Yeah.
which always followed me throughout my whole life and career. When I was a kid, like, yeah, I was straight up copy stuff from comic books I loved, and that's how I learned how to draw hands. That's how I learned how to draw some specific position, some posings and stuff. That's how I started drawing.
I think that's great to hear because I feel like that's something I feel like maybe I see this less now,
Yeah,
but I remember when I was on the internet, it was kind of more like the beginning of the internet.
yeah,
But I remember
uh-huh.
just people kind of really looking down on like copying in or fan art, and
Yeah,
I feel like that kind of played against me in the sense that I didn't allow myself to copy or
yeah.
anything. And I feel like I don't know, this is just like a little
Yeah, I mean,
thing that I like to say. It's like I feel like I kind of like lost some time by not doing that because I feel like you can learn so much by
mhm.
like
It
looking at
was,
other people's art.
I mean, at least when I started drawing as a kid and stuff, it was so different because it was not about posting anything on the uh,
True. Yeah.
social media. Social media.
Hmm.
So it was just me and like just like sketching and sketching and sketching and books and sketching. I didn't have an audience, or I was not looking for an audience, or which I'm not necessarily now, but so a little bit always. But if I'm being really honest, but back then it was just me trying to, there's no. It's kind of interesting to think about it. It was just me trying to be the best at it, and it
Yeah.
was just me. It was between me, and
Hmm.
maybe, I mean, there's some competition with like a friend at school, or even my family. I wanted to impress them. Definitely, there's a bit of that, but it was really, I didn't care about copying at all. There's no
Hmm.
judgment, there's zero judgment. Um, and I knew that if I kept drawing and drawing and drawing and drawing and drawing, I would just get better at it. That's it. And when
Mm-hmm.
I entered Super Focus, actually, after I draw my whole life I was here, but I would draw, during school, during classes, and I would have, a little drama because of that
Mm.
with the teachers. um, but when I started Super Focus, I really lashed it out. I was like drawing like crazy. And I was looking up, like, Disney movies and Pixar, and like I want to go there. I'm just gonna draw. Um, and it's not. I actually want to get back. I get a bit more back into that recently, but for years I kind of lost touch with that. It was just about work
Mm.
and yeah. But I'm trying to remember.
It's hard finding that sweet spot, Like,
Hmm.
since we're talking about that, we like to ask our guests the question about, like,
Hmm.
have you do you experience creative block? What does it feel like for you? And how do you deal with it? Because there's a little bit of that in what you're saying
Yeah,
in terms of, like, like, how do you find that joy again? How do you
yeah.
kind of,
I mean,
you know?
that's the very important part is that if I can, share that I've learned after 10 years, is you're gonna go through moments where you hate what you're doing and you're not inspired anymore and you don't even know why you're doing this job. And I've been through that, and sometimes still to this day, I go through that. But part of it is because I think and it's also part of my personality, like I was trying to adapt a lot to the people I was working with, to the
Mm.
studio I was working for, to the project I'm on. And so I've learned that, which is what I was saying earlier, is I have to think about how I can make it fun for me first. And some people are good at
Yeah.
adapting themselves and they're okay to see that as a job and they're more technical artists. Or not necessarily they can be just great artists too, but they understand the contract and they accept that. I try to do that. I'm just miserable if I don't have a little bit of fun because we spend a lot of time in our head coming up with creative solutions and there's an emotional part of what we do and for me I have to have fun. It has to be fun for me and
Yeah.
so I do of course encounter creative block all the time, but now I know a little bit the tricks that work for me and and the main trick is okay, how can I make this fun for me? So I always go back to an artist that I love, to an artist that can be an illustrator or photographer or director. I feel like the more also I work in animation, the less I'm necessarily going to look at work that has been done in animation. Um,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
because I'm lucky. I worked at Disney. I worked with people like Hyun Kim. That at some point I thought that's what I was supposed to do, and I loved what he was doing. So I just trying to do what he was doing. And I kind of lost myself a little bit. And actually, the studio when I was doing that, the studio eventually told me like stop doing that. Just go back to what you were doing when you entered here. That's what we want you to do. And
That's actually really nice that they were able to point that out, that they were
yeah,
able
true. Yeah.
to tell you, like, we don't want you to be a copy of somebody
Hmm.
else. We want you to be you. That's really
Yeah,
nice. That's
definitely. Yeah,
really
yeah.
sweet,
I
actually.
yeah, I agree. But then going back to that, you're like, okay, what does make me me? What does that mean? What the You're like you don't really know. I'm an overthinker, like I have a lot of doubts all the time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah,
so
I know
yeah.
that.
And so I struggle to find my voice in a way to at least feel comfortable with it and just not overthink everything. And honestly, it's been recent, like really the last couple of years where I'm like, okay, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to explore when I draw something, and I'm gonna stick to that as much as possible. And it's because I went through all this experience and because I realized this artist inspired me more and I'm less drawn
Hmm.
by the technical aspect. I'm really drawn by an idea, as simple as an idea can be. I like when I don't know, there's like, yeah.
When you talk about being inspired by art that is outside of animation,
Hmm.
do you still look at artists that are
Hmm.
like drawers, I guess, or, like, that are illustrators, or do you also look to other art forms like um architecture or photography, or things that are outside of the drawing or painting aspect of art?
Yeah, sometimes. I mean, I do sometimes. I think mostly it depends on the what I have to do, because
Okay. Mm.
I do a bit of everything. I do characters, I do backgrounds, I do just color stuff. So whatever I have to tackle, um, will have an impact on what I'm trying to, what I'm going to look at. But usually I need always need to. There's like this handful of artists I really love, and usually just looking at their work, and it's I can name them. I mean, definitely Eric Guillaume is part of. I love the way just he thinks. When you look at his work, it's not impressive technically at all. And actually, it looked like,
Mm.
well, that's easily achieved. I mean, when you work with him, it's a whole different thing. It's really really hard to I don't know. He's genius. So productive. Every
Mm.
single of his drawing has a little story behind. It's not about impress. Like he's not trying to impress anybody visually. Really, it's just he's telling a story, which is impressive actually in itself. But um,
Mm.
I don't think I can draw a wolf anymore. I don't know. Let's see.
I think you can. That looks great. I do you in the Bad Guys
Hmm.
movie, I remember there's a moment when they like drop the books on
Oh
screen. Are
yeah,
those your
yeah. I did
drawings?
this. Yeah.
Yeah, those are so good. They're only on screen for like half a second, but I
Uh,
was like, I know who drew
yeah, yeah.
these.
Man, that was hard to do, and that was my last assignment. I left the project before the end of it,
Hmm.
but it was just a personal choice. But it's still an amazing project. And that was the last thing I did on it. It was fun to try all those different style. I was uh yeah not always comfortable with all of
Yeah,
it, but
it looks so good, dude. I was gonna go to a Twitter question that's kind of similar to
hmm
what I was asking you with like the art inspiration.
hmm
So from our listener at spooky_cat,
hmm
what's your biggest inspiration that is an art slash media?
slash media. So if I talk
Yeah, it
about
can be just like
mhm.
it can be like books, it can be like anything, or like it could be even like a nice walk in
Right,
in the
right, right.
park or something.
Yeah,
Anything that's like inspires you the most.
I mean, yeah, okay, yeah. There's books. So okay, part of my journey is that I had to go through. I had to go through chronic pain at some points. Like I was really struggling with that, and
Hmm.
it was hard for many years. And so I've got into studying a little bit, studying at least read a little bit about like the mind body, you know,
Hmm.
symptoms and stuff like that, and how the brain works. And so I like to sometimes dive into that. Still, I'm not going through chronic pain anymore
Mm.
because of it's a whole other conversation. But I had, I surrounded myself with the right people, and that helped me. Luckily, it was just mind body syndrome. It was still very painful and hard to go through, but I realized that how your brain can really trick you and crazy things. And so just that idea is important for me. So I guess it's more like because we have to deal with a lot of doubts daily when we do this job, and sometimes I get lost
Hmm.
in them. And so just reading something about like more inspirational about how you can, manage your own thoughts and stuff like that. That's just helped me in general. So I guess there's that. I don't know if that's inspiring, but uh,
No, I think this is a great answer.
yeah,
I think it's also really interesting to hear that you were dealing with chronic pain for a very long time,
hmm
and it was while you were still every day working your job. I think
yeah,
this is something that we even haven't talked about on the podcast. And it's really great also to hear that you were able to kind of look at your life and
hmm
think about your quality of life and not just the career part of your life,
yeah,
because I
yeah,
think this is something that everybody goes through.
hmm
Like this is a career that is so easy to get lost
hmm
in,
yeah.
that it's very easy to not have a good work-life
hmm
balance.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah, I think it is important, and the more you grow old, the more you meet people that have, like, there's the root canal kind of issue, there's back issues. Everybody's been through some different stuff, but some of them are really just emotional, and just that aspect to me, which I was not a firm believer, especially when you are really in pain. You're like, nah, I'm not that kind of guy. There's really something
Yeah.
physical. Just fix it. You get mad at the doctors, and
Yeah.
you're like, no, not me. Um,
It's also funny because I feel like in France there's like this big thing where it's like, no, psychology does not
yeah, yeah,
exist. Every,
yeah.
like
Which is, I think,
like our minds do not play tricks.
yeah, I think it's evolving everywhere.
I think it's evolving a little bit.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't know. Maybe this is me just like kind of am going on a big tangent, but I
Mm.
feel like in the US there's a lot more literature
Oh, yeah, yeah,
on
definitely, yeah,
mental health
yeah,
and like people are better
yeah.
versed in mental
Mm-hmm.
health.
Mm-hmm. It's
Yeah.
true. I think, I mean, I was able to overcome it because I was here, I think. At first I
Oh,
was scared of that because
interesting.
the doctors are much more expensive. Yeah, much more expensive here than they are in France, and that
Yeah.
was part of my fear. I'm like, I don't want to lose all my money on doctors,
Hmm.
um, and so yeah. But it turns out, I think it's because I don't know what I'm doing. It's because they such an advanced conversation about mind body issues and mental health that I think I was able to yeah to cure.
Yeah. I think that's a great answer. Like feeling inspired by struggle,
Hmm.
because I think at the end of the day, all stories are about conflict and or struggle.
Hmm.
And I don't think you can write interesting stories or create meaningful art if you're not
Hmm.
going through some kind of a struggle in your life. So
I
yeah.
think so. Yeah, I don't encourage people to go through struggle. It's just a reminder that it is a fact, and a lot of people are. It's not just you,
Yeah.
and it's okay. It's totally okay. You're gonna
Hmm.
overcome it. It's totally okay, and it can actually be a good thing. For me, it turned out to be a good thing because not that I want to, enter in this conversation, this cheesy conversation. I was like, that was a blessing in disguise. I'm so grateful. I went through this chronic pain. No, fuck it. I don't want to go through that again. I wish I
Yeah.
learned things in a different way. Uh, this is how I learn things, and I needed to learn these
Mm.
things, and I still need to learn a bunch of stuff. But it's part of my journey. But I'm just trying to
Yeah.
say, like, it's okay, and you, yeah, you have to be patient and just remember you're not alone in this. But I
Mm.
mean, yeah, that's all I can really say about that. But that's sometimes, yeah, if I have to look for stuff outside of work, I would go there. I like also, it is media related, but I need to see like stupid fucking funny videos with, you know, comedians I love, and
Yeah.
not just to get out of, these doubts or anything. It's just like those things can inspire me the way there's few artists, mostly French, that I love, and it's just liberating to me. And
Yeah.
and what they do is it feels at least very liberated the way they shoot themselves, and and I'm like, yeah, that's the kind of artist I want to be. I have a different way of expressing myself, but I want to be
Hmm.
somebody who just, go with his flow, and uh, yeah, has his voice, and it's okay if it's a goofy, stupid one. Um,
I agree. I
so
think that's great.
yeah, I'm not trying to be serious or change the world with my work, and
Yeah.
trying to impress anybody really. I'm just trying to be as truthful to myself, and share that with people. But I'm not trying to. Yeah, I don't know.
That's a yeah, I love that. I think it's true. It's like I think it's the hardest part about working in the business is like
Hmm.
you do have to put a bit of yourself in what you do,
Hmm.
and there is like a vulnerable aspect of the job which is tricky
Yeah.
because you have to put a bit of your soul and a bit of your vulnerability in the work you do,
Hmm.
but it's still a corporate job, so
Hmm.
they can just kind of like throw it away at any
Yeah, and I mean,
minute.
and it's part of the deal too. When you work for these big studios, um,
Right.
you know that what they expect when you work on a mainstream project, what they expect is to I don't know if please is the right word, but they want the bigger audience they can. So
Yeah.
it's always going to be cute. It's always going to be charming. It's always going to be. And I'm talking about those movies. I worked on Frozen. I worked on the Minion franchise. I worked on. Yeah,
That's right. I forgot you worked on Frozen.
yeah, that
That's
was my first
really,
project
yeah,
actually.
yeah,
I
yeah,
got
yeah.
hired at Disney to work on Frozen. Well, no, I did some characters when I was uh, in training still. I don't know, and I think I started working on that when they officially hired me. I worked on Moana too.
Hmm.
I didn't stay. I ended up staying a year, so I didn't work on too many projects. And I didn't do
Yeah,
it.
but those are like the big name, the like
Yeah,
Frozen and
yeah,
Moana. Those are like some of the big ones. Wow. Yeah, I forgot you worked on those. Those are awesome
yeah.
too.
No, it was surreal. Some of the
Yeah.
experience I had, and it was really the beginning of my career, really. You know,
Yeah,
I was like,
that's the
what? How do
craziest
you?
part.
Yeah. But so luckily, really quickly, I've learned that idea of like, there's so many voices when you do a design, especially a Disney year. There's so many things involved in play, and so what you should focusing on is how if they hire you is because they love your job, and you should just focus on that and be as truthful as you can, and accept that
Mm.
if it comes to a point where you just have to bend yourself in your art too much, then it's not for you, and you have to find another place. And it
Yeah.
was hard for me to understand that. I was just like, oh, I don't want to feel rejected by you. So I was trying to adapt as much as I could to anybody I was looking for. But I did learn a lot, and I think at the end, my style right now is a mix of all those experiences, and I don't regret any of it.
Hmm.
And I'm still, trying to figure it out. But I know I'm more confident about what I like, and
That's so funny that you talk about that because we have a question from one of our patrons.
Mhm.
So if you're a patron of the show, you get access to Discord and you can ask questions
Mhm.
on the Discord early. So from user at Pretty Pants. At what time did you start to be able to draw confidently for any project? That's a loaded question for you.
Wow, yeah.
What do you find?
Well,
I think we kind of went over that. Like, what do you find helps generate ideas when you have none? I think
actually,
we kind of went over that. But the first one
mhm.
I think I like about are you are you able to draw confidently for projects now?
Yeah, it's a great question because actually, honestly, I think so. Right now, I'm working on this new project with Warner, and I'm lucky because I'm trying a new role as an art director, and so
Hmm.
I don't spend as much time on my drawings and stuff, but I help this team, and I was lucky because it's my voice that we're listening to visually, which is new to me.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Can we say what
Yeah, oh
movie
yeah,
you're
yeah,
on?
yeah. It's Merry Little Batman. So we're
Yeah,
waiting on to see what platform wants those right now, but it's I
yeah.
mean
In case anyone here knows a little bit about the Warner Brother news, there's been an article that was released, so we can talk about it on the podcast.
yeah,
There were a lot of direct to streaming movies that were greenlit, but in the news of the recent merger with Discovery, a lot of these direct to streaming movies are now in a new state, which is shopped. So
yeah,
they're
yeah.
trying to sell the movies to other buyers.
Mhm.
And you can find articles so online about that. So I'm actually on one of those movies, Bye Bye Bunny.
Cool,
It's been
yeah,
announced it's being shopped,
yeah,
and Guillaume is on Merry Little Batman, which has been announced and is also being shopped.
yeah,
So we are in the same.
yeah,
So,
uh,
but I'm a board artist and Guillaume is an art director. We have a little bit of time too, so we can talk about what art directing
yeah, yeah.
entails.
I mean, I will definitely talk about that. Just to finish with the previous question,
Yep.
um, I think the Merry Little Batman when so I was freelancing actually when they reached out to me and it was a time where actually I was kind of burnt out by my work. It was during the pandemic. I was trying to figure out what I was doing in LA, and I just left Bad Guys, was an awesome project, but I think I was at the end of my rope after a few years at Illumination, where I feel
Yeah.
like I've learned so much, and I'm so grateful of my time. And I'm not saying this to be nice. I really mean it. It makes sense now, but back then I just felt like I was just trying to do what Eric Young was doing, and so I was the least confident I ever was. I was really just like I just felt like I was doing less good version of what Eric could do.
Yeah.
And
Hmm.
so it was very hard for me, very frustrating. I totally lost myself.
Mm.
What was it? I totally lost myself visually. I don't know really what, if I could just work anywhere else because Eric's work is amazing, but it's really, it works really well at Illumination. And I felt like, how am I gonna adapt to another company like DreamWorks, which is where I
Hmm.
ended up going and I found that I was able to,
Your
navigate.
dream, your
Yeah,
little
yeah, yeah,
student
yeah, yeah.
Q's
It
dream.
was so bittersweet though because I did it. I was like, my God, I went to DreamWorks, and DreamWorks is amazing. I was just not there. I was just not mentally in the right place to fully accept. Uh,
Yeah.
First of all, to jump on another project just like that. I mean, a break. Um, but anyway, but still, like amazing people. I loved all the team I worked with, and some of them I was friends with before going there. So Um, but anyway, so when Warner reached out to me, they talked to me about this project. And I was like, yeah, how do you see those characters? There's like a few characters in the movie, and we want this and that specific style. Like, what's your take on it? And I was just like, you know what? I'm just gonna do what I think can be fun for me. And because
Hmm.
at that time I was kind of officially taking a break from animation, um, and I just started doing a little bit of freelance here and there, and I was working on this other project that I loved, and I was so happy and I felt safe again that I was, doing this job. So when they reached out to me, I was like, you know what? No, yeah, no, fuck it. I'm just gonna do what I think is fun, and I did it,
Hmm.
and they liked it, and so that's how we started a conversation about Mary Little Batman, and it became a movie that we're producing right now. Uh, and
Mm.
so I do feel now much more liberated, but I needed to step away from from animation for just a few months and stop drawing
Yeah.
and to realize that I missed it and quickly I was drawn by those artists that I almost forgot about. I'm like, oh my God, that's what I really love. And then yeah, and then I just wanted to draw again and now, sometimes I forget and I get caught up in my old pattern and I have to remind myself like, yeah, yeah, you can have fun with this.
Yeah. Did you just not really take any time off during your career?
No, not really. I mean, I was always either looking for a freelance job or
Yeah.
I'm really fortunate, honestly, because I always found jobs that, especially, I worked at Disney, DreamWorks, Illumination. They all were, I always had great experience. I always worked with great people. And again, I'm not saying this to be nice to anybody. It's just, uh, I had some terrible freelance experience, but it's mostly miscommunication or,
Yeah.
or me, definitely me, if I did a bad job. But I felt really safe wherever I worked. I think it was just, life happens sometimes and you just can't anymore. And it's you. You have to know what you really want. But,
Yeah.
yeah, I forgot what was your question.
I think, let me just take a look at I think you answered before what do you find helps generate ideas when you have none. I
Mm,
feel like we were kind of like talking about your inspiration
mm-hmm,
and your struggles.
mm-hmm,
So, and sometimes just taking a breather. I kind of wanted to ask real fast,
mm-hmm.
another question. I think the answer can be pretty short to that one,
Yeah.
even though it's a long question. From one of our patron, brother to drummer, um,
Those names. So, so funny.
Our fans have really great
Hmm.
usernames.
Hmm.
When developing shows features aimed at younger children, what sort of mindset and reference do you use? Do you hang out with kids to see what makes them laugh, or do you just refer to existing data? Or
Hmm.
do you think of what tickled you when you were younger?
Huh, that's funny. No, I just think about what tickles me as an adult. I
Yeah,
just, I'm still a kid, which is great and bad. But
yeah.
again, what I'm seeking is being like truthful to myself as much as I can. And I'm saying this because I know that when I try to listen to somebody's voice too much, I am very unhappy. So, of course, you have to, you think about when you work on a movie like Merry Little Batman, for instance. I think it's PG-13, but still, it's like mostly for, kids and young adults, I guess. Um,
Hmm.
but I'm not trying to think, oh, at least me, I don't know about the director and the writers and stuff, but I don't think like, oh, what makes kid laugh, and like,
Mm,
why, what's fun for me right now,
yeah.
and what's my
Hmm.
voice in it. And I think that's how you can be the most unique in a way, the most,
Hmm.
I would say truthful more than unique. Because I'm not
Yeah,
trying to
I
be unique
agree.
and detaching myself and so people look at me. It's really just like, how is it a rewarding experience for me too, you know? And
Yeah.
that makes sense after you work a while for other people and where it becomes a task really. And I'm trying to get away from feeling that I'm doing a task and that I'm like,
Hmm.
you know, part of something. And uh, does that answer the question? I feel like
Yeah, no,
I start,
I think that makes a lot of
yeah,
sense.
yeah.
Yeah, basically like you're just kind of going by your own
Hmm.
gut feeling,
Hmm.
and you're more of a you consider yourself to be a kid at heart, so that makes a lot of
Yeah,
sense.
yeah.
Mm.
Exactly.
We have a couple more
Hmm.
questions. We have one from at Serene Za.
Hmm.
Uh, I would love to know more about your character design process and how you go about building the scenes in your Viz Dev pieces.
Okay. I have to do a little method acting and be as if I was as if I was doing it right now. So the process always starts with, like I was saying earlier, doubts. Like, okay, we need this location. How do you see it? Fuck, like panic. Okay, 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 okay. So usually, what I do is
First step,
first
panic.
step, a little bit of panic. Well, actually, no. First step, I like, sure, okay, I'll do that later. Like, okay, I get the information, no judgment at all. Then a little bit of panic, like, and then really quickly, I just gather references a lot. Everywhere I can, references.
Mm,
Sometimes I don't need that much. I just go for it. Sometimes I need, this little thing that's want to take. It can be anything. Going back to what we were talking earlier, it can be an artist that I love. It can be anything really. And
mm,
but at some point you have to dive into something and you have to hurt yourself and you have to and sometimes there's not one process I think. But I guess the one pattern is that the one thing in common is no matter what you do, you have to do it. You have to jump and try, and then
yeah.
things are like either ego takes over. It's like what this is so shitty, and then you do another one, and then like the battle starts. And when everything goes well, then there's a little like sparkle, like a little fun thing, like oh
Hmm.
yeah, I can play with that. And you want to see it
Hmm.
finished. You're like, oh, I want to see, shh. Um, and yeah, and I really do things differently when I'm doing characters versus when I'm doing BG. But I've, I think like lately I've had more fun doing characters because this project of Batman is fun. But I mean, BGs are kind of fun to do too, actually. It really depends. I'm realizing I kind of handle things the same way a little bit right now, but I always try to find a sense, like, and that's what I've learned with Eric, trying to find a story, like trying to bring my own story into the images. But I'm always trying to,
Yeah.
as again, when I was working at Disney, and this is my own experience at Disney. I'm not trying to blame Disney. This is how I interpreted things, but you're surrounded by all those amazing artists that have this amazing experience that work with all those crazy movies. And so there's something sacred, in a way. And when they tell you something, it's like, and of course you're already starting on one place. You're like, I'm never gonna be able to do that because they talk about that. They're like how to like trying to be more unique, trying to create a story. They have all the right keywords and the good intention and stuff, but sometimes especially when you start, you're like just trying to figure out your style, and so you think more about the shape itself than what's happening within the shape, you know?
Interesting. Yeah.
Yeah, which is what they push you to think about what's happening within the shape. And so
Mhm.
I've learned that to me it clicked and it made a lot of sense when I worked with Eric, and so that's what I'm trying to focus on right now. The drawing, as much as I can, is pushing what's happening within the shape, and like when somebody sees it, it's clear. The intention of the drawing is clear, and it doesn't have to say anything specific and unique and super original. It can be super simple. Sometimes I realize that just putting a little tool to a character can say so much, and and it helped me on Little Batman actually because I applied that on it, and I sold my characters every time I was, they asked me to create these new characters, and they didn't ask for it, but I put them in an environment, and a very like rough environment. It doesn't matter, with very simple, kind of like New Yorker kind of stuff. Like it's really not. I'm not comparing my work to New Yorker, but to the New Yorker magazine. But I'm just saying the idea is that just doing a very simple illustrative thing without trying to impress people visually, even though,
Yeah, it's a little bit, your style is way more comic, not comic book, but picture book-esque than like what I see a lot in animation.
yeah,
I mean, you can definitely paint, but your shape design is closer to
yeah, yeah.
picture books more than like being
Mm-hmm.
like a render,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm not. I mean,
a render
mhm,
guy. Like you can render, but
yeah,
what is more most striking is your
yeah,
uh shape
yeah, yeah.
language. Yeah.
I can't. I mean, I'm terrible at. Uh, what I had to do some jobs where they asked me to do just textured stuff, and I respect so much the artists that can do that, and but I hope that I work on projects where I have to push artists to do that, but it's harder for me to find a sense of artistry in that, and I'm not
Yeah.
telling any story, and so it's harder for me to. But it's a personality thing. It's okay. Um,
Yeah, it's more of a craft
mhm,
thing. Like you've worked in visual development a lot, so it's more about there's a lot more idea.
mhm,
It's more in the idea
mhm,
scene more than in the
mhm.
craftsmanship scene. There is a lot of craftsmanship, but the craftsmanship is second to the idea, I would say.
Mhm. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. Yeah. I don't like.
yeah.
I was super. I had a huge lack of confidence, sorry, when I started because I was comparing myself to all those crazy artists, especially
Mm-hmm.
at Disney. Again, it's they're all like at their top of their game, and what am I gonna bring to this? What's my? So I think I tried to do more like rendered stuff, and I remember at the time I was at Disney, but I had some visa issues, and so I tried to apply a little bit in other studios, and I
Yeah.
knew Disney wouldn't pay for another visa.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think
Interesting.
they liked me, and they were okay to keep me because they didn't have to they thought they didn't have to go through that again. But you have
Uh-huh.
to really bring something like a big value to the balance to spend money on a visa
Mm-hmm.
because you get hired as much as new. You're an investment at this stage. You're not like they don't know exactly how to use
Oh,
you.
right.
They like you, they see potential and stuff, but they can still follow your work and you know re reach out to you if they feel like you could help them on which didn't happen to me at least. But
Yeah, because it was still early for you. You were still
Yeah,
like
yeah, yeah, yeah.
maybe like year two of your career or
Yeah,
something.
yeah. I was not definitely not like, that valuable at all. But it's, no problem with that. This I was like trying to play, played at DreamWorks, and they're like, yeah, your portfolio is nice, but yeah, we need like more. You have to be able to do more render stuff because when you do vis dev, it's usually just at the beginning of the movie, but then if you want to stay on board, you have to, it's just going to be easier for you to keep a job and stuff. And I tried that, and I just realized how bad I was at, rendering things in a
Uh-huh.
specific way. I'm a little bit more comfortable now, but still, I think I'm not, great painter, and I'm much more okay with that now. I know what my strengths are, what I'm comfortable doing, what I like to do, what I like to
hmm
explore. Um,
hmm
and yeah. Again, I don't remember the question.
Um,
I go with good.
no, 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 that's great.
Yeah.
I think that answered the question. It was about your process.
Hmm.
And now I have some trivia questions. You are free to not answer them.
Yeah, I'm not. I'm sure. Yeah, terrible with animation
Do you
actually.
want
But yeah, let's try.
to, uh,
Hmm.
from at Peachy Corbin?
Hmm.
Uh, I want to know what percentage of the Bad Guys crew has watched Lupin the Third.
Yeah.
Was that when you were on the movie? Do you remember that being a reference or not really?
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. Huge reference.
Yeah,
I don't know how
huge.
many people. Let me change color. How many people saw it, but I'm not gonna draw as much, but I'm gonna do this. Love that. I love
Ah!
this. I mean, I love all of them, but specifically those guys. Pretty awesome. Do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do.
For people listening on iTunes or Spotify, Guillaume was just like drawing arrows to the drawings that I did
Yeah,
that he liked. So
yeah.
he's noting my designs
That's
live.
listen. That's what you. One of the question was, how is it to be an art director? That's what it is. You just point arrows at stuff that don't work or work, and um.
Nice. I love
So
it.
yeah. Tell me again what you're
Yeah,
asking.
so
Yeah. Oh yeah,
it
yeah.
was a
Yeah.
huge
So yeah,
reference. Yeah.
Lupin the Third was a huge reference, for sure. I didn't watch it per se, but when I was younger, I I watched enough that I knew about it. We watched some like little
Mm,
sequences here and there. There's also
yeah.
a big one was Ernest et Célestine.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
Ernest and
yeah.
Célestine. This one, I mean, all the everything that that was close to Lupin the Third, like the early Miyazaki work, was a big,
hmm
big reference, and I think it's really obvious, especially at the. I don't know who saw the movie, and I'm not going to spoil anything, but at the beginning of the movie, there's like those crazy sequences, and you can feel the reference. Yeah,
Mm.
definitely.
Yeah, the animation in that movie is just so fun.
Yeah.
Another trivia question
Hmm.
from at Tim Levang.
Hmm. Yeah.
Is it true that they knew that they made the wolf in the bad guys hot?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
a
So,
laughing emoji.
so the way, no, just kidding. No, wait. I mean, actually, actually, probably yes, because no, probably yes, but it was not like with those terms because the idea was to make a heist movie. So of course, one of the references like the Ocean's Elevens, and he was the George
Uh-huh.
Clooney, I guess, and
Oh yeah, so the reference was like we need a character that's kind of like George Clooney, so that's kind of like suave, like smooth.
yeah, like the
Yeah.
charm. He's like a con man. But he's a nice con. Like he's a charming character, and so you can
Mm-hmm.
call it hot if you want, and it was, yeah, it was part of the intention for sure, for sure, for
Yeah.
sure.
I think your take on the wolf is hot. I think you drew him hot
Really? Okay.
with the
Yeah.
shoulders.
Oh yeah. Like strong shoulders.
Uh,
Yeah.
I think there's like that last question. Let's see. I don't know if you know for that, but let's ask it anyway.
Yeah.
From at Stella Magic,
Hmm.
will there be a Thing 3, a Bad Guys 2? Is there chemistry between Wolf and Diane?
Let me see. Sing 3, I don't think so.
Mm.
But I might be wrong because I've heard Garth Jennings, who's the director of Sing 1 and 2. He originally comes from live action. Like he did
Mm.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. That's
That was him?
yeah, that's him. Yeah,
Whoa,
yeah.
that's
He did
crazy.
that. He did
Wow.
The Son of Rambo, I think. I haven't seen this one. But he did like he comes from live action, which and I can feel when you see those movies, you can feel that. To me, and again, I'm not saying this because I worked on it, but I only worked on the first thing. It's
Mm.
one of the best projects I was being part of. First of all, because they really allowed me. That's how Illumination hired me actually as a visual artist. They
Mm.
pushed me to do my thing. It's the project after that I really to adapt to Eric's style, but they really pushed me to do my thing, and I really enjoyed the experience. But anyway, he's a director and he can feel it. Like
Mm.
you can feel in the way the camera moves, the way the storytelling, just storytelling things. It's like you have to play with like five, six characters, and each of them are, I think, have some kind of you can relate to them. You like them, and it's really really hard. You live, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
you. I don't know. It's a very emotional movie, and when you have so many characters, it's just really hard to do. It's
Yeah,
not just a
like
bunch of. Mhm.
making a character feel like they're real with like actual desires and wants and hopes and dreams
Yeah,
kind
yeah.
of
And
thing.
you can relate to
Yeah.
them and you feel for them and it's not just a bunch of jokes putting together, it's like really
Hmm.
there's something he's trying to say and it's simple, it's a simple movie. Visually it's simple. Doesn't mean it was hard, it was not hard, but it's just like the design again are not like the most wow. To me that bothers me like because I was part of conversations like this, like how to make it unique, how to make it and this is something I said that in another. I didn't do a lot of podcasts, but we talked about this, and we haven't go
Mm.
towards that a lot. But I think part of the reason why and again I don't remember the original question, but I'm gonna dive into this anyways. The reason why I was burned out by what I was doing is because at some point I couldn't find a sense of um, just I didn't know why I was doing this job anymore because my style, that what I've learned, the language, the line I was using, the way I was handling some textures and stuff, didn't make any sense really because I was working on CG projects and eventually it would look like any other CG project, you know.
Mm.
Recently, this stuff more like Spider-Verse or Bad Guys. They're trying to push a little bit more towards something a little bit different visually.
Hmm.
But there's like the render things, but there's also the language of the design and stuff. And in feature, at least, like in shows, TV shows, there's much more variety. I feel like it's much more creative um,
Yeah,
than it is
I know
in,
what you mean.
yeah, there is
Hmm.
in mainstream studios because now we have this, pipeline that's been used for so long, and everybody's trying to do like super realistic stuff. And it's always impressive visually, always. But it's
Hmm.
boring to me, and I'm sorry to say this, but it's boring. Like I don't like most of the movies, and I'm not gonna point any movies, but lately most of the movies you don't know where they're coming from. It could be
True.
DreamWorks, Netflix, I guess, Disney. It's always the same like eyes, the same shape, the same, and it's to me it's personal, and I think
Yeah.
it's part of the way things are moving creatively. Maybe we have to hit some kind of like wall and then somebody's going to come and really, again, this like it's happening already. There's a few projects coming here and there, and I also know the fact that you work for this big audience, so you have to play safe and you can't go too wild and crazy. And I get all of that. I respect all of that. But the facts are like, as personally as a visitor artist, I didn't feel inspired anymore. I didn't know really why.
Yeah. Yeah, because then you're wondering why are you trying to push shapes and push design if at the end of the day it's gonna look
Yeah,
like the
like or
previous movie that came out.
exactly, or just
Hmm.
the fact that it's it remains a creative process. It remain a creative adventure. So by that I mean, and again, it depends what you're looking for, but it's you're trying to create this project together. It's hard, when you work on a feature, any project. It's so hard. You spend so much time on this one idea, and then you push, 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 push. You go over and over and again. And so
Mm.
it's an adventure, and you want to discover that new world you're creating. There's something so rewarding about. My God, that works. If I apply what I learned here, and I don't know, I'm being a bit naive, but you know what I mean? Like it's like
Yeah.
what at least what draws me, it's being part of an adventure, and what are we doing? Like we have a vision that's trying to push for this. We have a vision. Just that. I feel like lately the vision is just like let's do what's been done visually, but let's try to create another story where there's gonna be I don't know, like
Yeah, I
heart,
know what you mean.
full
It's
of
like
heart,
it
and
it feels it
mm,
feels very much like there's a strong push for exploration, but at the end of the day, it's still a product. So it's kind of like finding,
yeah, exactly. Like
yeah,
when you start a
and it,
project, often
yeah.
the directors are excited about it, and they should be, and it's super inspiring. And like, yeah, we love this, we want that. I mean, that's gonna be fresh. I think if we tackle this way. I really want to push things this way. Sometimes we all know it's like a sequel, and we all know it's a job, and we're like, what's about that movie that we can, create a sense of identity? I think it's possible, and often that's the idea. That's why we're making a movie in the first place, is because we want to explore a world. We have a message to deliver. We have to. Sometimes it is just about the message, and I guess
Mm-hmm.
me, I have to
Yeah.
work on accepting that too. It's not just pushing visually
It's not,
anything, and but I'm okay with that. I like simple. It can be simple visually and impressive visually, and still have a strong message and a great message. But yeah, after a few years of just, to me, I just felt like I was just hitting a wall, and I hope that I don't know, things are gonna move towards a bit more risk, uh, and was my little.
yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know if I don't. It doesn't seem like there's a sync happening. I know Garth has his own project now. I don't know which one they
Mm.
are, but yeah. Bad Guys 2, I have no clue. I
Mm-hmm.
I would not be surprised if there's one.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah, because it did really well. I think it did really well from what I looked
yeah,
up
yeah, yeah, yeah.
online.
And DreamWorks is like, at least when I was
Mm-hmm.
there they were like trying to um, how to say this? They're trying to, find some kind of identity. There were a lot of change. They were rebought by some company. I don't know. It was like a lot of things, and they needed content,
Mm-hmm.
and strong content. And I think Bad Guys was very fresh. Directed by a guy who did Gogan, by the way.
Yeah, I can't wait to get him on the show. I hope
Yeah.
I haven't reached out yet, but I'm gonna reach out and I hope that
Mm.
he'll be down to come on the
Yeah.
show.
Yeah, and the connection between Diane and Wolf, uh, well, you tell me. I mean, I think there's one, but I don't know where that's going.
Yeah. I mean, probably if you read the books.
I don't,
I don't know if,
I don't know if she's in the
yeah, if
books. I don't know
anyone,
if she's in the books. I don't think so.
yeah, I don't know if anyone's like read the
Yeah.
books. I know like some of the comments that I saw online, some people read the books before and they were excited to see
Mm-hmm.
like the Easter eggs that were actually from the books and put into the movie.
Mm-hmm.
But maybe there's like more there,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Maybe I saw some of it, and I don't recall. I wonder. I think she's a character created for the movie, but I might be wrong.
Oh,
Yeah,
interesting, interesting.
yeah. So yeah.
Well, Guillaume, thanks
Mm-hmm.
for coming on the show.
Of course.
That's the end of this creative block. Thanks for being our guest and sharing your story.
Yeah, of course, of
Um,
course. Thank you.
and thanks to your listeners.
Mm.
Follow us on Twitter. It's at Creative Block, creative without the vowels, where we ask for drawing prompts and questions to ask our guests. Huge thanks to our editor Clemens for editing the podcast and Malik for helping us produce the show. If you love our show, then support us on Patreon. Becoming a patron gets you early access to interviews as well as bonus episodes. Click the link in the description of this episode. You also get to ask questions early. There's more little fun things that we get going on the Discord and everything. I've been your host, V. Keep being creative, and we'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.